I lost. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Shorter, Chairman of the Anne Arundel County Public Library Board of Trustees. It is 4:02, and I call this meeting to order. I will do a quick quorum call. Joyce Miller, first Vice Chairman.
Yeah, present.
Rob, that he cannot attend today's meeting. Miss Laura Brown, Secretary. I don't see Laura on the call. Miss Barbara Maxwell, Treasurer.
Present.
Mr. James Estep.
Present.
Miss Penny Evans. I saw Penny on the call. Miss Simona Simmons.
Present.
Miss Joan Beck. Don't believe I saw Miss Beck. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. Miss Leslie Anderson. Miss Tanya Baruti. Miss Catherine Blecher.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Bless.
Present.
Miss Dalix Cruz.
Present.
Mr. Don Rowland.
Present.
Miss Jacqueline Seaman. I don't believe Miss Seaman is on the call. Miss Janie Lane Smith.
Present.
Miss Sandra Solomon. I believe I saw Miss Solomon on the call.
It shows her name, but not her picture, so she probably is.
Mr. Gerald Starr. I don't believe I saw his icon indicating he's present. And Miss Brooke Toomey.
Present.
Thank you. And Mr. Skip Auld, ex officio, non-voting.
Yes, I'm here. Present.
All right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Donna, we have quorum. You can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or in the middle.
I'm pretty sure we do.
She's counting.
Okay, we have quorum. Before I entertain a motion to approve the agenda, I would like to introduce, and I'll turn it over to Skip to give more of a formal introduction, Mr. Cedric Grant, who is our new CFO, and Miss Kathleen Sparrow, who's our new executive director for the foundation board. So I'll turn it over to Skip.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shorter. I appreciate that. So I'm thrilled today to be able to present to the board our two newest employees who will be starting Monday. That's Kathleen Sparrow, Executive Director of the Library Foundation, and Cedric Grant, who will be our Chief Financial Officer. Cedric will start on December the 7th. I've asked both of them to just give you a brief introduction to themselves. We went through a rigorous hiring process and found two of the best people out there. So we're just really pleased to have them coming on board. I think I'd like to start with Cedric. Would you go ahead and unmute and say hello to the Board of Trustees?
Oh, Board of Trustees. I hope everybody's doing fine. Just a a brief background of myself. I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina, where I was born and raised. I attended Clemson University, where I have my bachelor's in accounting and my MBA from Clemson. I've worked in nonprofit pretty much my whole career. Started out working in the colleges, for colleges and universities. Did that for a number of years. Worked for county government in South Carolina, Barnwell County. I've been in the Maryland area, specifically Baltimore, for the last 8 years, where I work for the state of Maryland as the chief budget officer and the associate vice president of business and finance. I also work for the Department of Labor, where I was the director of administration. So pretty much my whole career has centered around nonprofits. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity here at the Anne Arundel County Library System. Seems like a great fit for my skill set. As Skip mentioned, I had a chance to meet with the leadership team during the interview. They seem like great people, great to work with, and I'm just really excited to come on board and to be working with the leadership team and to be working with the Board of Trustees. Thank you very much.
And Cedric, I hope you know, since you're in Maryland now, you're a Terps fan and no longer at Clemson.
Yeah, I know. I've been told, William, I've been told that, but listen, I still go Tigers, but listen, I love Maryland too. I love the Terps. So.
Well, at least we know you're loyal to your home team, so we're glad to have you aboard, Cedric.
Good, thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I saw Christine Feldman holding up something. It's an "I love turtles" or something like that. Is that what that is?
Oh my goodness, it's already started. I see.
They are the turtles, right?
It's great.
All right, well, Cedric, and Cedric will begin on 2 weeks from this coming Monday. It'll be December the 7th. Kathleen Sparrow is going to begin this coming Monday on November 23rd. Kathleen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Skip. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to put names and faces together before I join before I'm in the office. My background is diverse. I have over 25 years of experience in government and nonprofit, and I also have worked for a private corporation and have owned my own business as well. I have about 15 plus years with fundraising, primarily working with Volunteers of America, Utah, and then also with McCady Hospital Foundation, also in Utah. I'm a native Californian. I was born and raised in Southern California. I went to San Jose State University and spent the first half of my career in the South Bay area. My background is Parks and Recreation. So I spent about 20 years in Parks and Recreation, starting as a camp counselor and a playground leader and moving up to community services director. I came to Utah to work on the 2002 Winter Games, Olympic Winter Games. And I actually thought I would go right back to California. That didn't happen, but I did get to work with the Olympics and with Ogden City and Weber County, representing both downhill skiing and curling to the Olympic Winter Committee. In Utah, I moved from that position to working with Girl Scouts of Utah and another small nonprofit. My experience, as I mentioned, with fundraising is with the Hospital Foundation, which is set up very similar to the Library Trustees and the Library Foundation. I served on the hospital board of directors. I did not serve on the hospital board of directors. I served on the hospital senior management team representing the foundation. Working with Volunteers of America, Utah, I was the chief development officer there, and I oversaw marketing communications, volunteer services, and development, and was responsible for about $9 million in fundraising. Most of that was federal grants and state and local. The rest was corporations, foundations, and individuals. I'm new to Maryland. I moved here permanently in February. My husband accepted a job here a couple years ago, so I've been going back and forth. I landed a job in February, and I worked for a very short amount of time with the Annapolis Maritime Museum, and I was a COVID layoff. Unfortunately, they eliminated my position because of COVID. So I didn't really get to enjoy the Annapolis area as much as I thought I would, but I'm excited to be here now. I live in Edgewater with my husband, and I have 2 dogs. We spend our free time doing lots of outdoorsy things, and we ride Harleys, and can't wait to really enjoy the Northeast in this area. So I'm thrilled to be part of this wonderful team. As Cedric said, the interview process was very rigorous. It was wonderful to be able to meet some of the board members, Will, and some of the foundation board members, and then team members. I can't wait to start on Monday, and I'm just really grateful to be part of this incredible team. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathleen. And I'm sure you have enough exposure to Annapolis over the course of the couple of weeks and months as you join our team. So, and in the entire Anne Arundel County community. So thank you both, Mr. Grant and Ms. Sparrow, for deciding to join our teams. Is there anything else, Skip, you would like to add before we approve the agenda?
I don't have anything else for the agenda, and I just am chomping at the bit to get these 2 folks on board. So that's it.
Yes. So with that, I think everyone by now has had enough time to review the agenda. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So
I'll
moved.
second it.
Who
second.
moved and who seconded it?
Put me in either slot. Don't put me in either slot. I'm good either way.
All right. Well,
I'll second it just to have a second.
thank you. So all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Moving on to the approval of the minutes, I will hear a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
All right, Ms. Evans
Second.
made the
Second.
motion. Ms. Miller seconded.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes has been adopted. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is the treasurer's report. Ms. Maxwell?
Barbara, you're muted. Unmute, Barbara.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not new to the library, but I'm new to to be treasurer for the library. So this is my first report. The fiscal operating budget October report, the highlight was prepared by Michelle Davis. The highlights are 2 self-generated revenues totaling approximately $10,000 for the month. And we purchased 5,706 new books, print books, 1,950 audio and visual items, and 2,420 ebooks. And so we've got some wonderful new materials for the public. Skip Auld met with Chris Trumbauer and the county executive to discuss preliminary discussions for our supplemental budget. And because of COVID, the word that's going to characterize our supplemental budget is frugality. And so in that discussion, it was our desire and the desire of the county executive to do something that's really good for our citizens that are being hurt by this virus. And so we've decided our number one request in the supplemental budget will be to end the charge for overdue books for everyone, no matter what your age. That's the end of my report. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Maxwell?
Nope.
No.
Seeing none, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your first report as treasurer. So next time we'll make it especially hard for you to get through it. So we gave you the first one. Moving on to the foundation report, I will call on Miss Miller and Miss Beck.
Is Joan here or not? I don't see her
I don't-
name.
I don't
Joan, are
think it's here.
No?
I don't see
Okay,
her, but I will try to call her because I think she was planning to. So I'll go dark and call her.
okay, shall I give the report though?
Please do.
Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, I'd like to say welcome to Cedric and welcome to Kathleen. I had the pleasure of meeting Kathleen virtually at the foundation meeting that was held on Tuesday. And so as a result of going to attending the meetings, Joan, Beck, and I are the reps from the board to the foundation. I have the privilege of giving the foundation report. First thing is the FY21 annual fund has brought in $46,113 in gifts from 129 donors, with the average gift being $245.28, including a $15,000 gift from the Helena Foundation. Second, FY21 Beyond Your Expectations campaign income received from pledge payments $43,000 and $43,591. Next point, the foundation has granted over $113,000 to the library in FY21. The foundation funded Take and Make kits continue to be an important resource. Quote, I am thankful for the Take and Make kits. I am homeschooling 6 preschool children. The craft projects are greatly appreciated and loved by the children. What a wonderful help they have been to me. Thanks so much. And there were a lot of other quotes in the meeting that we had, but they went on and on. They're very appreciative of everything that the foundation does. Next point, the $100 for 100 Years campaign was launched in the foundation-funded next issue of Happenings. Anyone who gives $100 or more will have the opportunity to get their name displayed at the branch of their choice around the 100-year celebration. So that's a new thing that they're working on, and they're doing it in tandem with how we work the bricks for the library. $100 seems to be a good amount for the library and not usually total anybody's bank account to contribute. And people were really thrilled with the brick campaign. They wanted more bricks, actually. So we thought this would be a continuum of sort of what we were doing back then, but with our celebration for the 100-year anniversary. And the last point is thrilled to report that Kathleen Sparrow, new executive director, joins the foundation team on November 23rd. So again, Kathleen, we welcome you with open arms. You have an incredible background. I had the privilege of reading your resume and everything else, and I know you're going to do very well in your job. And Cedric, same to you. I've read all about you, and it's a privilege to meet you both, and I will be happy to work with you, and so will the rest of the board. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Miller? Hearing none, we will move on to the next item in our agenda, which is the strategic plan overview, better collections, better access goal. And Mr. Rudy Rodila will go through that for us. So Rudy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This afternoon, I'm presenting an overview of the library's Strategy 2022, as well as a deeper dive into one of its key components. The strategy was adopted by the Library Board of Trustees in October of 2018. Now, 2 years hence, and with new trustees and new chiefs aboard, it's a good time for us to review how the strategy was developed and how we're using it now. We had a lot of success with the prior strategic plan, written in 2014. It was a very useful document that provided a broad, impactful set of initiatives. But one of the critical challenges with the prior plan was with messaging a memorable, concise strategy. We had a good plan for how to do good library, but it was a bit short on the why or where we're going, which is a critical ingredient in marshaling support for the library and our mission. Now, we've documented the key players and the development process in some detail in the strategy document, which is published on our website. Here's a thumbnail of that process in 2 questions. Were we developing a plan or a strategy? As we were doing our preparatory reading and homework, it became clear to us that plans and strategies, while closely allied, are nonetheless distinct. And it became very clear that you need a good solid one before you can start on the other. We were also keenly aware that we are living in a time of rapid change, particularly in technology. The world is changing quickly around us, and at the same time, we change the world through our work. Clearly, the more useful tool would be one that could grow with the times. Secondly, should we use a traditional or an agile approach? Our deep study of our widely diverse community, the demographics, economics, cultural backgrounds, and aspirations told us that traditional planning was not going to be enough anymore, if it ever was. We needed to future-proof the library. What is particularly interesting about the agile or design or studio approach is that it produces or supports an intentional corporate culture. The agile approach gives us a shared vocabulary and grammar for problem solving, something particularly useful for thriving and adapting during change. Shifting to this bottom-up, adaptable and agile, iterative, many good solutions approach would vastly empower frontline staff, and more importantly, shorten the time between need and response to better serve our community. Making that transition required what was to us a novel way of articulating our strategy. The new strategy would not be just for librarians or trustees. It had to speak to every library staff member and stakeholder, from customer to custodian, from driver to book selector, from seasoned manager to new employee. The new strategy had to be clear, precise, and intuitive, as easy to use as a compass. And just to be clear, library work, like orienteering, is a team effort. To make the strategy really useful for every day's work and not just have it collecting dust on the shelf in the supervisor's office, the new strategy had to be as portable as a compass, accessible to everyone. Our strategy fits on a single sheet of paper. It's our little teal book. And just one more note on the process. The strategy is not the product. The true outcome of the planning process is the mindset, the grammar and vocabulary, the corporate culture needed for success in meeting community needs. These past 250 days of adapting to COVID have been a living, breathing, real-world excursion into life in the eternal beta. Literally every day, we all make it up as we go along. But because we talked about it so much in the strategy development process, we are crystal clear about our customers' needs. We develop novel workarounds to barriers, ad hoc, on the fly. If something works, we keep it. If it does not, we toss it. As General and later President Eisenhower noted, emergencies, pandemics, change by another name, are by their nature unplanned and unexpected. We thought it better to have a process that is resilient to change, rather than focus on a plan that shatters when confronted by the novel. So to reintroduce Strategy 2022, here are the 4 components of our strategy. Now, I find it useful to think of the first 3 components, our values, vision, and purpose, as our compass. Our values and vision help us frame our work, identify needs and aspirations, which in turn identifies and defines our purpose, why we exist, what kind of work we do in our community. We also defined a set of goals, the particular areas that we focus our work and resources. The strategy development process reaffirmed the value statement in our 2014 strategic plan. That should come as no surprise. Values should be enduring. Our value statement is perhaps the most important part of our strategy. Wherever policy, procedure, practices are silent about meeting a particular need, our values speak to us and guide us in our decisions and work. Our ultimate goal, a welcoming, resilient community where we can all realize life to its fullest potential, in turn defines our mission. It's important enough that we put it on all our branding. So these are the 5 areas that we've chosen to work on in our current strategy. The first 3, better collections, better access, thriving minds, and tailored services, are public-facing goals. They involve direct service with the public. The other 2, effective partnerships and entrepreneurial staff, concern organizational development. So in the strategy document, each of these goals contains 2 elements to help frame our thinking when we develop plans, initiatives, or services to meet these goals. First, we describe what the goal means in concrete terms. For better collections, better access, we provide materials in a variety of formats. What you need in the channel that you best consume it. We ensure library collections are responsible to community needs and interests. It's not one size fits all. We strive to eliminate barriers to use, whether they be policy, technical, or ability-based. And you heard the Treasurer's report. We're moving to eliminate one significant policy barrier. We hope to eliminate that in this next fiscal year's budget. We connect library collections to everything we do. At our core, that's what we are all about. All of our services and programs lead naturally to increased readership. And secondly, we describe the possible outcomes to give us a sense of how to recognize and measure success. From better collections, better access, improved educational results, and economic outlooks for individuals. Engaged, informed, and satisfied residents. Engaged and informed citizens as well. And increased customer satisfaction and increased use of library resources. We want all of our customers to find joy in the library, no matter what part of the galaxy you're from. We don't want this outcome to happen to us. And here's where I get a chance to collect from my IT staff. They laid a wager with me that I couldn't work Baby Yoda into our presentation, but here he is. With that, sir, I am open to questions from any of the trustees.
I have a comment if I might make. Rudy, that was so well done. I really thought it was just excellent. You did a fabulous job presenting this.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Laura, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. I agree with what was said by Joyce. I thought it was an excellent presentation, but I do have a question. I think it's great that ideas are coming from the entire facet of the library staff. How do you all plan to measure your educational goals?
Laura, you just muted. We missed the end of what you said. You muted.
If I could, I
can't hear you.
If I could anticipate the question, ma'am.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what you heard before. I apologize. Did you hear any of my comments before?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You were asking about how we intend to measure improved academic outcomes in our community. That is perhaps the golden question. That's the chalice that we as a library professional are looking for. We have a very effective partnership with the schools already. We've been participating in this project with the Public Library Association called Project Outcome, which is looking toward measuring those kinds of outcomes. Understanding that academic success and academic outcomes have a lot of inputs into them, so they're hard to nail down, analytically. But there are other ways that we can measure that, and we have seen a couple of experiments already done by some other libraries that we hope to piggyback on. So right now, we don't have a clear one right now, but we're looking to develop one in the very, very near future.
I'd like to just add to that, if I may, just that for some time now, we've been looking at adding a business intelligence analyst or a data analyst to our staff, and we're still working toward that end. Once that happens, that position will report to Rudy, and we'll be working on trying to make sure all of our measures are the right measures and are getting at the things we want to do to understand, how we're making a difference in the community. But I'm just saying that because we have some things we work on now. We collect a lot of measures, but we want to refine it and make it better.
I would like, go ahead, Laura. Sorry.
I'm sorry, just following up. I know that student data is important. I also know about student privacy, and I also know right now in Anne Arundel, do the students have to have a separate library card to access the library collection, or is it connected to their school accounts in any way?
It is a separate card, but we have a partnership with the county schools that they do provide and they do work in an opt-in, particularly to address the privacy question. So there is an opt-in at the very beginning, but after enrollment, they do provide us a list of students that have opted in. We automatically give them library cards. It's called a SAIL program, and I see Kathy's on. I'm hoping she may be able to give more details on that.
Yeah, the key is that it uses their student ID number. And so that just makes it really easy because they already know that because they use that for their lunches. And so they can just come in and they just have a prefix, standard prefix that they use. The staff all know what that is. And then they just use their ID number. And then they can just check out with that card. And it's a fine-free card, which now all children's cards are fine-free anyway. But it's 3 items, fine-free. And they automatically get that card when they apply. I believe it's an opt-out. I think everybody gets it and then they can opt out. So yeah, so that's been really successful. And we just keep that up. Every time we get new students, we update it. So all the kids get those.
Ms. Smith?
Oh, I just wanted to say what I really liked about Rudy's report and the strategic plan as printed and shown to us is that it's short, it's clear, and it makes sense. Sometimes these kinds of things wander off into complicated lands, but this looks really good.
And just to highlight, I think it's really important to look at our strategic plan, and Rudy really made a great point when he talked about the fact that we weren't anticipating on being in pandemic. So our plan allows us to still meet our mission while still keeping on course per se. So I think that's very important to highlight. Are there any other questions?
I would just like to interrupt for a moment. I just noticed our state senator, Sarah Alfred, is with us. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Senator. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks. I didn't mean to disrupt. I know I'm on the agenda at 4:45. I just wanted to get on early and listen in. So thank you.
Thank you for joining. With that, are there any other questions that any other members may have for Rudy? Hearing none, we'll move to our next agenda item, and that is Ms. Feldman, and then we have the CEO report.
Will,
so
could I make-
with that, will Ms. feldman
Okay.
Joyce, do you want to say a few?
I just want to make one remark that I forgot in my foundation reports. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just a quick statement. I want to give A shout out to Julie Kaiser Ball for all that she does and has done in the interim between Anne's retirement and Kathleen's coming aboard. She's a one-man show and she deserves to be mentioned at this board meeting, and I didn't want to forget to do that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important to highlight.
So I wanted to do some show and tell today of a few things that you may have seen, one that you probably haven't. First of all, can anyone see this lovely document with a picture of a sweet young woman at the library?
Yes.
Great. So this was our annual report. We call it our community impact report. And we did send this out to customers and stakeholders. I sent it out to the board before the public, but just in case you didn't have a chance to review it, I just want to give you a quick snapshot. It is a traditional annual report, but with the slant of how we helped people. How did we impact the community that we serve? So I'll just give you a quick little run through, and then I'll show you one more thing, and then we'll move on to Skip. So Skip has a letter in here that talks about, obviously, the massive changes that we saw in fiscal 20 with COVID. We have some great photos of people using our services in very different ways, through curbside, online. Then we get into what was the beginning of calendar year 2020, which was going fine-free for children and teens, and how much we were able to save people $754,000 in fines waived. We then move on to some work that we did around combating racism, some of the book lists and the trainings that we've been able to provide to the community around those topics that have been so well received by the public. And I encourage you all to take advantage of the Racial Equity Institute trainings that we continue to offer. We also highlighted the Healing Library, which was very fortuitous. Who would have known that we would have needed something like this even more than we could have expected? But these are wonderful kits that are available to families that are dealing with loss. They focus on young children and how to help them deal with the loss, whether it's a pet or a parent or a deployment or something like a pandemic. They've been extremely popular and are the results of one of our Severn Library staff taking it upon themselves to institute this program. We also obviously talk about how people are using our libraries now and what they think about that, how they feel that we're serving their needs. And there have been some wonderful comments of how we've been really assisting people during this extremely difficult time. Get into a little bit of numbers about how many people we serve. And then we move on to another new initiative that you may not have heard as much about, dementia-friendly libraries, a wonderful program that Kathy brought forward to us, that we're training all of our library staff to be able to serve not only people dealing with dementia, but the caregivers and the challenges that they face. So each library is going through special training to be able to be certified as dementia-friendly. We've got a lot of information about our new facilities, the lovely Bush Library. There's some great pictures. I'll encourage you to take a look, some shots of what Riviera Beach will look like. And what our Severn Library looked like, that was open for one day before we closed on March 13th. Extensive renovations there. So I encourage you to stop by if you haven't already. And then many of you have been to the Discoveries Library that opened in February. Here's your lovely photo and the foundation. So I encourage you to take a look at that. It's on the bottom of our website. I'll also share one more thing. Can you see the happenings? Is that showing right now at this point? Will?
No, not yet, Christine.
All right, hold on one second. Too many things open on my screen. Let's try that. Okay, this is the last piece of show and tell. This is the cover of our magazine that will be hitting people's mailboxes in late November, early December. And it's a fun, really fun cover that I'm excited about. We commissioned a local artist to do this cover, and it's got some nods to a very popular children's book that anybody who has a young child, or maybe even was a young child, might remember. So if anybody has any idea of what that children's story might be, you can find the answer in the publication, but I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the red balloon.
Love the cover, Christine.
Yeah,
it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's great. So this is the edition that normally I'd be giving you in person. We feature a timeline of the 100th anniversary of the library, which is sort of the beginning of our celebration of marking our 100 years serving people. Some really fun old photos from Reynolds Tavern and other places and key dates. So I encourage you to take a look at that. We've got a lot of information for families with young children, everything from STEM activities to getting your child ready for kindergarten. Of course, we talk about books. We advertise our virtual programs as always, which continue to grow extensively for every age. We've got a large section on Black History Month and how we're recognizing it and some of our recommendations for books. Our popular Great Movie Series and Canopy movies. And then information about the $100 for 100 Years campaign that Joyce mentioned earlier. So this edition, like I said, will be sent to all 220,000 households in the county. And as a way for us to measure our success, we've created a small campaign where we're encouraging people to give us their email address, and they could be entered into a drawing for a gift card. It'll help us just get a sense of how popular this was for folks. So just wanted to show you that edition and look forward to you getting it in your mailbox later this month or early December. Thanks to our foundation for funding that. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Feldman. Are there any questions for Ms. Feldman at this time by any of the members?
Just have a quick suggestion. It looks great job. Has anyone sent a complimentary copy to the Banneker Douglas Museum, since they have so many children and they have quite a few individuals coming through?
Yes, I believe they are on our mailing list. We send to a number of partners.
Good. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, we will go to the CEO report. Mr. Auld.
Okay, thank you, Will, and thank you, Christine. I want to just reinforce how valuable this is that the foundation has paid $50,000 to be able to mail that Happenings magazine to every household in this county. We have requested it previously in our budget request to the county, and it's going to take a while for us to get through the economic downturn and everything else before the county might look favorably on a request to be able to mail that. But the fact that we have a foundation allows us to do this type of thing, and it's just absolutely just so important. I just want to emphasize that. Before I go into a couple of items that I want to go over with you, I want to read to you a couple of customer impact statements. We have our staff all around the system every day hear compliments and different things and ways that the library is of value. And here's one that came in on Monday. You know me, so I'll probably choke up just reading this, but person says, thank you. Thank you so much for being, I can't quite figure out how to get over that. I apologize. Thank you so much for being open, even in a small way. I lost my job on Friday. Like I say, what we do makes a real difference. I lost my job on Friday and don't have a computer at home, so this was so helpful to me, period. So that was quite amazing. Another one, Person says, I'm so thankful that the Crofton Library is open during this challenging time of COVID-19. The library staff is going above and beyond to safely keep materials available to the public. I especially am thankful for their weekly grab-and-go craft projects. I'm homeschooling 6... Sorry, you just have to live with my emotionalism. Sorry about that. I'm homeschooling 6 preschool grandchildren. The craft projects are greatly appreciated and loved by the children. What a wonderful help they've been to me. Thanks so much. So we get that kind of thing on a regular basis. And so anyway, I want to just go back to do a little bit of a shout out for the foundation. And I think Will wants to, before I get into the meat of my report, he wants to say something too. We're just getting ready to send out, Julie got it ready and Kathleen will be a big part of this, getting ready to send out our annual fund appeal. It is so important for all members of both of our boards, both the foundation board and the board of trustees, to donate. It helps us to be able to say that 100% of our board members give in some way. We don't ask what amount you give, just that you give something. I know that Will and I have both made pledges already. And I think with that, I want to just turn it over to Will before I go into just a few items, and then we'll get to Senator Alfred.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight the importance and encourage each one of us to really, if we can during these times, to really give what we can to the foundation. Skip has really highlighted the work we've done, and it reminds us of why we're doing what we're doing. And any small contribution really helps at the end of the day. So I really encourage everyone to please consider giving whatever you can during these times to the foundation to help our residents in Anne Arundel County.
Thank you so much, Will. And we also don't look away from large contributions too. So you don't have to be small. Feel free to give until it feels good. That's how I like to look at it. Okay, a couple of items I'd like to share. Let's see. The Chromebook kits that are going out with the Wi-Fi hotspots are a smashing success. We have 50 of them, again, given by the funded by the foundation. We have 50. We already have 245 people on the waiting list. We just can't get enough of these and keep them out there. In addition, we have about 148 hotspots, and we have a waiting list there of about 150. Both of these items go out just for a week. We've kept it at a short time period because there's so much demand and interest in it, but they are highly successful. Also, our parking lots where we installed Wi-Fi early in the pandemic, they are being used like crazy. Severna Park is the highest usage, and they had 1,200 people using the Wi-Fi in the parking lots for the month of September, and about almost 1,500 people in the month. Actually, it was August, and then in the month of September. So just a lot of use of these kits. I also just want to say that we are watching this pandemic and the raging coronavirus very closely and very carefully. Just today, Dr. Kalyana Raman mentioned that the highest number of cases are from people working outside the home. In other words, not teleworking. And obviously, we have the bulk of our workforce is public service, public-facing staff. Even with the 8 positive cases that we've had across the library system, none of those so far, knock on wood, has been due to a transmission within the library. In other words, our protocols are working very well. But that doesn't mean that we're just waiting kind of idly to see what is going to happen with this. We do not want to be a place that just stays open in order to stay open. Obviously, there's a tremendous value in what we're providing, so we don't want to shut down if it's not necessary. but we're just keeping an eye on it. We met last week and talked through, our executive team talked through what are the things that would cause us to shut down. Obviously, a stay-at-home order would cause us to pretty much shut down curbside appointments, everything else. I think we've looked at other county agencies such as the Recreation and Parks Department, where they have the swimming pools open. They put in place really strong safety protocols, just like the library did. And so far, they've decided to keep the swimming pool going with several hundred people a day coming through, about a dozen staff members there, lifeguards and everything else. So the safety of our staff and the safety of our community and customers is uppermost in our mind. But because we know that we have thousands of people making appointments every month. We have thousands of people using curbside. We only will scale back when we see some other marker that becomes an alarming marker. And obviously, both the governor and the county executive and Dr. Nilesh, all of them are raising alarms now. We just want you to know that we're taking it very seriously, and we may make adjustments as we go. That concludes my report. I would be available. Oh, I didn't send you a written report. That concludes my verbal report. I didn't send a written report because a couple of Fridays ago, November 6th, was my 10-year anniversary of working for this library system. I've been just really blessed to be able to be here, and looking toward another maybe 10, maybe let's get that Glen Burnie Library open, and then I'll start thinking about it. But I just wanted to say that I've been reflecting a lot on these 10 years, and I've so far written about a 2-page reflections document that I want to refine and get ready and maybe send to you tomorrow or sometime over the weekend. So that'll be my report to the board. I just wanted it to be right and to reflect all these great things, and as well as challenges that we've had throughout the past decade. So that is my report. I turn it back over to Chairman Shorter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alden. Thank you for your 10 years of great service to our library system. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Alden? I think it's because of your 10-year anniversary, they're taking it easy on you, Skip. So take the small victories.
Yeah, they don't want to
and the next agenda item. The next agenda item is Senator Alfred. And before I turn the gavel over to Joyce to lead this next segment, I just want to say Senator Alfred and I have something in common. Our senior year of university in the public universities in Maryland, we had the opportunity to serve as student regent at the time. So that's something that I know we both hold dear, and it was a great experience for us both. But at this time, I will turn the gavel over to Joyce Miller because of my employment, just to sustain from the next conversation. So Joyce.
Okay, thank you, Will. I'm going to, in turn the conversation over to Skip to introduce the topic that our esteemed Senator Sarah Alfred will be discussing. And I will add that Senator Alfred is a real supporter of the library, and we're very lucky to have her in our corner. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. So Skip, you want to introduce the topic and what Senator Alfred is going to be speaking about?
Yes, thank you, Joyce, and thank you, Will. So included in your materials is a copy of the letter that I sent to Senate President Bill Ferguson and House Speaker Adrian Jones, copying all of our Anne Arundel delegation and copying the committee chair people, because we are trying to support a bill that Senator Alfred put together, kind of worked through the General Assembly, got lots and lots of bipartisan support for, and it was passed, but it was vetoed by Governor Hogan because at the time it was early in the pandemic, and the revenue projections were extremely dire. Those revenue projections changed, but at any rate, I wrote the letter. It's to support a veto override. It's Senate Bill 524 and House Bill 1000. So you'll see the details of it. I just want to thank Senator Alfred for her work in bringing this bill to life, and we really hope that it can become law with an override. With that, Senator Alfred, thank you, and it's your turn.
Well, thank you, Skip, so much, and to Will. Senator is a cool title. Regent will always be my favorite title that I got to hold very briefly, but I love that job as well. And to everybody, thank you for inviting me today to be here. I looked at the calendar just now, and I was with you in October of 2019, and gee whiz, how the world has changed since that time. But when we met a year ago, and if I could take a moment and just say, I hope we can make this an annual thing. I love to hear the progress that the library is making and the impact that you have on our community. So I hope I get to spend every fall with you. But when we met last in 2019, we were discussing ways that the state can better support not just Anne Arundel libraries, but libraries across Maryland. And I made the commitment that I would take this little idea that did not start in Anne Arundel, but you embraced it wholeheartedly, of going fine-free for children, that we would take that idea and make it statewide and become the first state in the nation to go fine-free for kids, because everything we know, all the data, all of the best practices suggest that we want to make the most welcoming first experience for children when they come to the library. And I was reading through the testimony I wrote on the bill, which now seems like 5 years ago. It was just in February. But I recounted my own personal library journey, and I know there's nothing quite so personal as a library and our time there as children, to reflect on my obligation as your senator to make sure that every child has that same opportunity. So we discussed this time last year of going fine-free, but also making sure that we are increasing our state support, both operating and capital dollars, to our libraries. So we worked together, and I need to thank Skip, was a tireless convener of all of the other libraries across the state, which was not easy, if I could just say. It was not always easy to get everybody on board with this bill, but at the end of the day, we did, and we passed it in the Senate overwhelmingly and bipartisanly. And the bill not only made it the first state in the nation to go fine-free, it increased the operating support significantly. It increased the capital support by $2.5 million. This group knows better than anybody that when the program was first created by Speaker Bush in 2008, it was set at $5 million and has not grown since that time. And of course, that value of $5 million depreciates significantly in the last 12 years. So we knew we needed to increase our capital support to libraries, and we did that to the tune of a total of $7.5 million a year. And then we also know that we needed to support the slurk. And I gotta tell you, I said the word slurk more times than I ever thought I wanted to last session as we were passing this bill. But the State Library Resource Center, we knew that we needed to invest more funding to be a resource to Anne Arundel County. So we did all that, and we passed it in a record session where we adjourned early for the first time since the Civil War. And unfortunately, as Skip noted, it was the victim of the governor's veto, as was any bill that had any kind of fiscal note. I had another bill that had a fiscal note of $200,000 to support small businesses, and that did not make it, did not pass the veto test. So as Skip said, our budget projections are at that time were not great. They remain tentative. I serve on the Budget and Taxation Committee. And we are very much waiting with bated breath to see what happens in Georgia, what happens with the US Senate, what happens with Congress, because we are facing down some very significant budget shortfalls, as Anne Arundel County is, as the city of Annapolis is, and as I'm sure you are at the library system. So I've already mentioned to the Senate President that this is a priority for this district to override the veto. But of course, we have to see where we are with the budget as the days and weeks continue, and this election seems to never end. But please know that I appreciate all that you do. You are more than just a building full of books. You are a community resource to so many folks. And I teared up as well, Skip, at the notes that you've received, because This is a dark time for many people. And my office receives a lot of calls every single day for people in the most challenging parts of their life. And the library continues to be a beacon of hope and a resource for people in their darkest hour. And so I know we need to do more. I'm committed to seeing this veto overridden so that we can get you the resources to continue your incredible mission. So thank you for letting me come, and thank you for having me. As I said, I'd love to be here on at least an annual basis to hear of your good work. I appreciate your service to not just the county, but to the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Alfred. Does anyone have any questions for the senator?
Yes, thank you, Senator, for being here. I'm Laura Brown, and I represent my district, and we are right across the street from the casino. And so when the casino was put in and it's being expanded, one of the things that we definitely learned about is some of those profits coming to the school system. And so I am concerned about that and how the state changes its allocation when we have things like that happening. So Anne Arundel Public Schools is still in need of funding, and then also our library systems. So can you speak to that and how we can make sure that the funding for our public facilities doesn't decrease due to funding from the casino, and do you have any knowledge of how the pandemic has impacted the revenues from the casinos in the state of Maryland?
If I may, just before you jump in there, just so you know, we receive good funding for our Severn Library for various types of things. And most recently, we completed a renovation of Severn Library funded by the local development council, giving $1.2 million to that project over 2 years. So I just wanted you to have that background.
Thank you, Skip, and thank you, Laura, for the question. When Maryland passed gaming back in 2007, I was still in college. The promise was that those revenues would go to public education. Unfortunately, with the Great Recession and some very difficult budget years, which, to be frank, our projections assume upcoming budgets might be worse than they were back in 08 through 11. But during those difficult budget years, the General Assembly and the governor decided to use that funding to supplant, not supplement, education dollars. And so it was a money in, money out situation, holding steady. We cannot spend $1 less on education any given year. We always have to increase that budget. So budgets for education were not cut. The money that you spoke of did not directly go to education the way it was intended to. Now, you'll recall in 2018 on your ballot, you passed or you voted one way or another, either way, passed to box that funding for education. And so we have what's called the Education Trust Fund, and there's a lot of revenue sources that go into that Education Trust Fund. But from now on, that money will be lockboxed for education. On the revenue side now, when casinos were closed during the height of the pandemic, and frankly, we're still in the height, but they've been reopened. Obviously, we lost significant funding during those months. But the last time I received a budget update was in October, and the revenues month over month for September and October were the same as they were in 2019. So people are still gambling. And that's the bad news. The good news is that those revenues will be going to education. So the good and the bad of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions from anyone for Senator Alfred? So one thing I would like to just mention that we talked about early in the meeting during the treasurer's report is that our budget committee is looking seriously at trying to eliminate overdue fines for all materials, as Prince George's County did, as Calvert County did, as other counties have been doing. And so that may become something that we will look to certainly on a local level. And so I just wanted that to be kind of in the back of your mind, Senator Alfred, as you're looking for other potential bills to sponsor in the future. So
Well,
I'm going to turn it. Oh, okay.
No, so thank you. And thank you for allowing me to be on. I apologize. I can't stay with you while I was speaking. I missed a call from Congressman Sarbanes, who texted to say he sends his best, but I have to return that call if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
So Joyce, I'll turn it back to you to turn back to Will.
Well, thank you, Senator Alfred, for your support. Will, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. With that, we will move on to our second new business item, which is motion to, what we'll do is this. We are going to do a consent item. I am going to enter in a motion to waive the first reading and second reading for the electronic document signatures. I think that's an important policy for this body to adopt. And I'll let Rudy present all three motions and then we'll vote on them all at once. If anyone has any objections, we can go one at a time. Does that sound all right? Okay, Rudy?
Okay, the first item on the next item on the agenda is a request from staff to increase, to approve a purchase in excess of $75,000 as is required in our purchasing manual. This is actually not new spending. Well, the effect of this approval is to move $600,000 that we were spending with Recorded Books. That company has been purchased by Overdrive Incorporated. So all of that spending that was going into books on CD and downloadable audio books and a couple of other items, that money is now going to be transferred over to Overdrive Incorporated. The next item is a request for approval of transfer of funds for software. The software that we are seeking to purchase this year were items that had been on our supplemental request for FY21, the current fiscal year. But as you may recall, the COVID pandemic began right in the middle of the budget process. So it was decided to defer the supplemental request for software and to use capital outlay funds in the interim. And as it turned out, that plan has worked very well. It presents very low risk to the library because by not spending capital outlay funds, we don't have equipment that is otherwise new that would be sitting in the library unused and having the warranties run on them. And instead it lets us, but we did need to purchase the software anyway because the software is mostly directed toward some very needed infrastructure improvements for IT. That's the nature of the purchases in that request. And the policy item that is up for consideration concerns the use of electronic documents as signatures. As we know, it's difficult for us to coordinate physical signatures on documents. E-signatures are legally can carry the same effect as wet signatures. There's never been a specific, there is no specific legal requirement to use either method. Both methods are recognized by the courts, but the Library Council has opined that we would be better served having a specific, explicit electronic document signature policy in place in order for us to proceed. So we're making this request. We had originally intended this to be the first reading, but we're certainly able to move and act on getting the e-signature solution in place if you approve it tonight.
Are there any questions for Mr. Rodila? Hearing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules and approve all motions and action items that Mr. Rodila presented to us. Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Miller seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, all motions are adopted unanimously. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Rodila. Is there any other business before the board before adjournment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to leave?
So
Oh, okay.
Don't move.
Mercy, step without objection, we stand adjourned.
Will?
Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.